go.
Welcome back. So today we are going to start working on an infographic where we use the information we read in this article to make something that will ultimately look like this, but we're just going to start with the first half or so of it today. So this is actually 2 pieces of paper. I didn't have any really big paper, so I scotch taped 2 pieces of paper together so that I would have enough room to show all the information. And I'm going to start with, I'm going to start at the beginning, which is the big event at the beginning is the French and Indian War. So I'm going to do that and put a little bit of information about that, not a ton, but a little bit. And then I'm just going to work my way through and see what are the next big things that happen. So for me, as I'm scanning my document, I think that the next really important thing that happens after the French and Indian War is that very first tax, which is the Sugar Act, and that's in 1764. And then the Stamp Act happens right after that. So I'm going to put that next. And the very next thing that happens is the Stamp Act Congress. So those are the things that we're going to work on today. All right, let's just start with one thing at a time. Get your paper and let's start. You can pause the video here if you need to and then come back when you're ready. And cameraman, why don't you come over here so you can see what I did. So here's my paper, and I looked at the French and Indian War. And what I wanted to include in here are like what got it started and what were the most important facts about that war. And also, of course, the date. So I put the date, 1753, and then the title of the event, the French and Indian War. And I put a little star here because this is what got that war started, right? French built forts on land the colonists thought was theirs. That's what got it started. And then I thought, okay, what else was important? Well, the colonists couldn't win by themselves. Oh, look, I made a mistake here. I need to add an S. The colonists couldn't win by themselves. So what happened? The English army helped them win the war. And then here I put 1763 because that's when they won the war. So you can write it this way if you want. You can do, you can be creative though if you want to use different types of lettering, if you want to word it a little differently, if you want to do a little illustration, you could do that. And then I felt like it was really important because I know that the Sugar Act is coming up. So what did the English army or England tell the colonists? They said, you have to pay for the war. You can't settle in the new land we won. And our governors have more power over you than before. Okay, those were the things that made the colonists really mad. So I felt that was really important. And then in 1764, the Sugar Act. I did the lettering this way. I decided to put this little piece of information in like a round bubble. It's just an artistic choice. You can be as creative as you want. You can make boxes or make lines or frames or anything you want. And so then I thought, okay, the Sugar Act, I've got the date, and I just want to give a really short description of what the Sugar Act is. The Sugar Act was a tariff on all British goods. Oops, here's a mistake. That should be the colonists bought, including sugar. All right? So you want to put what the Sugar Act was. You can use my wording. You could put it in your own words. And notice that I've put these arrows in here. So I've got the French and Indian War, and I've got an arrow to 1763, and then an arrow here because the next thing that happened was what they told the colonists. And then an arrow to 1764. There's the Sugar Act. And now I've got an arrow back this way because soon after, in 1764, the Stamp Act. And I put that in a different kind of a bubble. And a short explanation of what the Stamp Act was. It was a tax on all printed paper goods, including newspapers and cards. And then here, I put a little comment. The colonists were mad, so they held the Stamp Act Congress in 1765. So you can kind of see how one thing really leads to another, right? France building their forts, that makes the colonists go to war. Colonists can't win, so they need the English to help them. Now the English spent all that money, so they need taxes from the colonists, so they passed the Sugar Act and the Stamp Act. That makes the colonists mad, so they had the Stamp Act Congress in 1765. We are almost done with what we're going to do today. The other part we're going to do today is this short explanation of what happened at the Stamp Act Congress, which is they decided all the colonies should boycott stamped goods. Okay? So that's all we're going to work on for today. And tomorrow we're going to talk about the protests and the Boston Massacre and the committees of correspondence and finally the Boston Tea Party. So you can keep that in mind for tomorrow. All right? Good job. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.